Welcome to the Elite BSC podcast, where our entire focus is helping commercial janitorial contractors succeed. You want a growing company, a thriving team, and healthy profits, and we are here to help. My name is Jordan Tong. I'm the founder of Elite BSC, a company dedicated to helping janitorial companies grow and thrive. I also serve as CEO and one of the owners of France Building Services. France is a janitorial company employing nearly 600 people. Since 2007, we grew from 1.5 million to more than 20 million in annual revenue and built what I think is one of the best teams in the world. The goal of Elite BSC in this podcast is to give owners in the industry a vision of where their company can be and the information and tools to get there. I want to share what I have learned over the years to make this a reality for you. Hey, it's Jordan here with Elite BSC. So this is part 3 of a 4-part series that we're doing on prospecting. And the last 2 podcast episodes, we went over what would be the first 2 of 4 steps, I think, in the marketing process or the prospecting process. And really, just when I say marketing in our industry, basically what I mean, everything before we engage with a client. So as soon as someone says, hey, we'd like to bid, we'd like to talk about bidding, you're now in full-on sales mode. Everything before that is sort of marketing stuff leading up to that moment. And we're trying to get there. And the whole marketing effort is aimed at getting us to those times when we tip over into the let's sell this thing phase. So the first part of it was building our ideal client profile, which we talked about in a couple episodes ago in part 1, and again, just as maybe a way of reminder, your ICP is the description of a company who will be an ideal customer for your business. What they want and what you're really good at, those 2 things align, and you're really trying to match yourself up with the people that would be ideal for your company, and then. The second part 2 of this that was in the last episode was on actually building a list. Like, how do we go out and build a list? We talked about some free sources to maybe gather some of that information. And then we talked about some paid sources that you can utilize that we do. And then maybe where to find some of the decision makers. So, or at least maybe not decision makers yet, but find contacts that we think might be in or around the decision-making process. So the next step in this marketing process is identifying decision makers and outsource status or contract status. Now, let me back up and explain. I was just on a call earlier today with somebody that was interested in talking to us about maybe handling some of the marketing work for them, and they had expressed their frustration with some previous companies they had worked with. They were doing telemarketing for them and trying to generate leads or appointments for them. But what ended up happening was them chasing appointments for things that they really didn't want. And understandably, that's frustrating. And so we think that appointments are maybe not the best metric or the thing, I guess, at least the top metric that we should be tracking. And so our pitch when we do marketing work, and it's what we do here at France as well. And what I would encourage people to do is have a bit more of a long-term approach and maybe a little bit more modest goal. So we obviously need appointments, and we obviously need to sell and close deals. And there is a sense in where we do need to measure that. We do need to have some goals that we're trying to hit and get there. But from a marketing perspective, I think it can be helpful for your team and help orient them in the right direction to have a bit more modest goal. And so our goal in that process is really to identify 3 things. And those 3 things are the decision maker, so identifying who the decision maker is. So often there will be more than one person involved, but usually there's one primary person. And we want to identify who that person is, number 1. Number 2, we want to identify whether or not they outsource. So maybe it's an in-house operation or whatever. And then number 3, what is the status of the contract? So, are they outsourcing, but they're currently happy and don't plan to do anything? Are they 2 years into a 3-year contract? Are they bidding next month? Like, where are they at? And, I'll always tell people, if I could give you a list of the top 200 prospects in your market and give you also the decision maker, the outsource, whether or not they outsource, and when they bid again, there's almost, I'd pay a ton of money for that list, because really that's what we're looking for. So now I know when I need to strike, when I need to go after certain clients that are on my list. And so that's this part 3 really is an effort to identify those pieces of information. And what we say, think about it like a football game, is the goal is to score touchdowns. And, we might book an appointment just by, pounding away at the phones or whatever. And, you might throw a Hail Mary every now and then. But what we're trying to do is 3, 4, 5, 6-yard carries, short passes that are advancing the ball up the field. They're going to position us well to score. And so that's why we're looking for this particular piece of information. So I'm just going to talk to you about a few ways that we go about trying to uncover these things. And we'll start with identifying the decision maker. So because once you identify the decision maker is necessary to at least understand the contract status. I think other people in the organization could probably give you information about whether or not they outsource. But you got to find the decision maker first, ideally, in order to be able to get to that last question that you need answered about what's the status of the contract. Where are they at in their buying cycle? And so in order to find the decision makers, to identify the decision makers, there's a few things that you can do. So one of those that we do is we run cold email campaigns, which we use a cold email platform, and we send a bunch of emails to prospective customers or companies, the contacts within those companies that we built with our list, and we're just asking the simple question of, hey, are you the decision maker? We word it in a lot of different ways as we send multiple emails over, a period of several months or whatever. But we're looking. We just need someone to point us in the right direction. That's what we're doing. So instead of me getting on the phone and pounding away at the phones, I'm just sending emails to try to get somebody to point me in the right direction, to help orient me to where I need to go. Who's the person I need to talk to? So that's one way that we can do this. You can do that with larger campaigns. You could also just send individual, like one-on-one emails, which typically have a better open and response rate than your larger email campaigns. It's just the nature of it. I think there's some technical reasons why that's the case. Those would certainly be two ways. Another way is making telephone calls to the location. And so that's, you're going to be trying to go through their dial by name system or whatever. You're just trying to get on the phone with a live person that could then point you in the right direction. And if you can get on the phone with somebody and you have a little bit of, you're pleasant and patiently persistent, you can typically get a decision maker's name or someone you need to reach out to. They may be reluctant to give you, their direct line or their email address, for instance, but you can usually find a name. You can uncover that. If you're not barging in trying to make a sales, pitch to them or something, like, I typically, if I'm doing that call, I'm just like, hey, I'm Jordan. I'm with France Building Services. I'm trying to find the right person for something, but I need some help, somebody pointing me in the right direction. I'm looking for who's in charge of overseeing the janitorial services here at this facility. Could you help put me in the right direction? And usually a question sort of posed in a fairly unassuming way like that gets a decent response, and people are willing to help you out there. Often I don't actually end up talking to the other person, but now I've got a name, and that helps move the ball down the field. And then lastly, this requires a bit more of a boots on the ground approach, is maybe you've got some locations where you've emailed, you've done email campaigns, you've made phone calls, you can't find anybody. You can't get on the phone with a live person. A lot of times Amazon warehouses are this way. We've had that experience in the past as we've tried reaching out to them. They're difficult to get through to somebody, and I think they do that on purpose. And so you can always stop by a facility. Now, this is not economical. You can't do this for a list of 1,000 companies or something. But you could do this, if you have 10 or 20 or 50 that you're like, man, we just can't find any information here, but we'd like to have them as customers. Then you could go physically knock on a door and talk to a security guard, talk to a receptionist, talk to somebody in the parking lot, and try to find entryways into that facility. Now, once we have a decision maker name and we feel, have some degree of confidence that they are involved in the buying process, we can then move on to the other two questions. Do they outsource, and what's the contract status? Now, we've got to be able to speak with or correspond with the decision maker to get this information. And really, you're not, there might be some rare circumstances, but I don't think you're going to get this by dropping in, because most people are not super thrilled to chat with uninvited guests to their office. And so you're either going to have to get this from a phone call or from an email. And, I think it could happen via text, but I think there needs to be communication established by one of the other channels in order to make that happen. Part of this is going to depend on what generation of person you're dealing with, whether or not it's a millennial, Gen Z, Gen X, boomer, whatever it is. They're going to maybe have a different approach or a different way they'd like to be contacted. But so in all reality, you're going to have to make phone calls or you're going to have to send emails. Ideally, these one-on-one personalized emails. And what our approach has been, and we found some success here, is we're going to research a company and we're going to find some things about their building or the area they're in or the services they provide or whatever it is that they do, just to let as we craft an email, just let the contact know, hey, we've done our homework and we know who you are. We know that you're a customer we'd like to go after. We know you're located in XYZ area. We have clients in XYZ area. Maybe list one or two of those. And then we ask those questions. So it's a very personalized email. And those get response rates. Those certainly do better than the mass email campaigns in terms of an engagement rate. Now, it is certainly time consuming. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is not some easy process. I mean, I've got people that are working on this and, they may spend 7-8 hours in a week working for a particular client doing email work like this and might get 30 some odd emails out because they're doing their time, they're doing their research and putting in the time to really craft something that might generate a response. And then circling back around with those folks, maybe then calling and leaving a voicemail or whatever. And I don't know of another way to short circuit this process. I wish I did. I wish I could give you a silver bullet to make this faster. But I do know plotting away at these things will help you move the ball down the field, will help you get the information that you're looking for. And I think once we've done all this, we're going to be in a good position to be able to start getting bid opportunities with the prospects we want. Now, this is not the quick hit of a lead gen company that's going to be funneling appointments to you. It's not that. It is a longer process. It's a marathon and not a sprint, but it does work. And as I was talking to that client again today about this marketing process, it has come in waves for us. We've had months where nothing seems to be moving, and then we've had months where we're bidding several $1 million in bids in a very short window of time. And so, this is sort of just the nature of these big ticket sales that we do. So I hope this is helpful. This is part 3 in the process. The last episode we'll do on this particular series will be on the next episode, and we'll talk about once we've identified a decision maker, how do we nurture them, and what does that process look like to put us in a good place to be able to bid on the project when the time comes. So that'll be next time, and Until then, I hope you're crushing it on your end in your company and with sales, and we'll see you then. If you found the information in this podcast helpful, please like and subscribe on whatever podcast platform that you're using. If you would like more resources or help to grow your cleaning company, head over to elitebsc.com. We have loads of articles, videos, free tools, coaching options, and a lot more. If your company is greater than $500K in revenue and you want to take your learning experience to the next level, check out our mastermind group. You can learn more about that at elitebsc.com/mastermind.